So our learning goal today is really, kind of really pretty much the same as it was yesterday. I can solve an absolute value equation. So when you have an equation that has, what is the symbol for absolute value again? How do you know that you're dealing with an absolute value equation? Ken? Yeah, it's got those two lines around a number or an expression, right? So if you have those two vertical line segments around something, that is indicating absolute value. So we got to know when we look at an equation, what kind of an equation is it? So if it has those absolute value bars in it, as we call them, then we say that it is an absolute value equation that we have to go about solving. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve, okay, I'm going to have to do some calibrating here quick. We're going to solve absolute value equations today that contain more than one step in them. Yesterday we only had to do one step to solve them. Today we're going to have to do more than one. So solve two-step absolute value equations the same way we did the one-step ones. In other words, we're going to have some of the same thought processes as we did yesterday. We're going to put the expression from inside the absolute value bars. So we're going to take a look at that and we're going to say, you know what, I have absolute value bars. So I'm going to take the expression that is inside those absolute value bars and I'm going to set up two separate equations that do not have absolute value bars in them anymore. Now that was one of the things that was a problem for some of us yesterday. We would start doing the work right away with absolute value bars still in our work. There should not be any absolute value bars in your work. Okay? So I'm going to kind of introduce, I think, a process today that maybe will help. Let's see if this will help straighten that out for us too. We're going to do steps A, B, and C. Okay? So I'll talk about that as we're solving these. Okay, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remember that when we had to solve equations that didn't have absolute value bars in them and had more than one operation, we're going to undo the addition or subtraction first. So we're going to look and see in our side where the variable is there some addition or subtraction going on? We're going to undo that first. Then we will undo our multiplication or division, depending on which one has to be undone. So we'll undo multiplication and division after we take care of addition and subtraction, just like we did when we were solving equations that did not have absolute value bars in them. Okay, so today I'm going to call step A when the absolute value expression is alone on one side. Alone on one side. Alone starts with A, right? So A is, so this is what we would call, if it's in step A, do we have to do anything? So I want you to write the absolute value equation down again, step A. And I want you to look and see, is there anything you have to do to get that, so those absolute value bars, that expression is by itself. Is there anything happening on the left side of this equation? Is there anything outside of those absolute value bars? No, there isn't, is there? So in step A, we want to make sure that that absolute value bar expression is all by itself. Nothing else is happening on that side. Once we're convinced that that's okay, then we're going to move on to step B. Step B is where we're going to set up our two equations that don't have absolute value bars in them. So we're going to set our 4x minus 2, no absolute value bars. We're going to set it equal to any number or numbers that have a distance of 6 from 0 on the number line. So are there any number or numbers that are 6 units away from 0? 6. Negative 6 and positive 6. So it doesn't matter which one we do first, but we have to do them both. We take the 4x minus 2 that's inside the absolute value bars, bring it out, and set it equal to the two numbers that have that distance of 6. So step B is going to be our place where now we're solving, is what's happening in step B. There's no more absolute value bars in our solving process. There shouldn't have been yesterday. Some of us were, though. So when I see your step B, I better not see any absolute value bars in it. Okay? What are we going to do first? Are we going to undo the multiplication or the subtraction first?
Subtraction.
The subtraction. What are we going to do?
You add it,
Add 2 to both sides. So we're solving this equation. Add 2 to both sides. That leaves the 4x by itself. And we bring down 6 plus 2 is? 8. Okay, and we have one step left to do. What is that?
Divide 4.
Divide both sides by 4. So we're going to take 4x and divide it by 4. And we'll take the 8 and divide it by 4. And we're going to say for this one that x equals what?
2.
2. There's one of our solutions. Okay, go ahead and solve the other one. Go check and see what the other solution is going to become then. What's the other solution for this one? First, just check each other out by comparing answers. And then after we're done doing that, then we'll say, you know what, we're going to really make sure we're going to do check problems to make sure that both of these answers check out, just like we did yesterday. So our checking is going to become step C. So how do you feel about the answers I got? Anybody get the same thing? Anybody agree with me? Yeah? You, Andrea? Okay. So let's go on to our checking step, which is going to be step C today. C for check. A for absolute value expression alone. B for what? What are we doing in the B step?
Solving.
Solving what should not be in our B step ever. Absolute value bars. And our C step is going to be our check step. So we're going to take our absolute value equation as it started. And we're going to substitute what we got for x in absolute value bars. Stay in our check problem because now we're not solving. Solving is when we get rid of the check bars, or the absolute value bars. Checking, they stay in there till the very end. And then at the end we say, okay, now what is the absolute value? So this becomes, what's 4 times 2, class? 8. So we have 8 take away 2 in our absolute value bars now. And 8 take away 2 is? 6. So we have the absolute value of 6. So notice, all we're doing is we just keep working down, doing the things we can keep doing. And now we ask ourselves, what is the absolute value of 6? 6. How far am I from 0? I'm 6 units away from 0. That answer checks out, doesn't it? Okay, go ahead and check the other one. See if the other one checks. And make those absolute value bars, you know, like from line to line, so that they don't accidentally look like ones, because that's what will happen. In other words, make them tall enough. Don't shortchange them. They'll end up confusing you if you do. -1 check out also. You did for me, did it for you, on your papers also? Good deal. Okay, so we're feeling pretty confident about our solutions for this one. They truly check out, we don't just kind of like we did, like when we make them. We need to make sure that they really do. Okay, so again, let's just go through this one more time. Step A is what?
Blue value.
Get the absolute value alone. Step B is? Solving. Are there absolute value bars in step B? Never. How about step C?
Checking.
We're checking. That's right. Okay. So let's follow those three things today. Maybe that'll help us keep all of our work straight, okay? Anybody need to ask any questions about this one? We're going to practice one more together. We're going to have two different types that should show up today in your work. Okay, let's go to the back side then and see what it has back there. I stayed up there, it says sometimes you will have to get the absolute value part alone before you can start. In other words, you actually have to do something in step A. You have to get that absolute value expression by itself first before you can start. So our only other problem we're going to practice here today, notice what it says. It says the absolute value of 2x plus 8, then being subtracted from that is a 3, and then that is equal to negative 1. So we need to add 3 to both sides. So we're doing step A right now. Would you put an A off to the side here? We're doing step A. We're adding 3 to get the absolute value expression by itself. It has a 3 being subtracted from it right now, so we need to get that out of there. So now we're going to have absolute value of 2x plus 8. That's by itself because we got rid of that 3. And what's negative 1 plus 3? 2. So let's decide now if we think step A is done. How do you feel? Feel like step A is done? Is the absolute value expression by itself on that one side? It is. There's nothing else happening on that side with it. So we can now say step A is done, and we're ready to move on to step B, which in step B is where we are going to start solving it. So when we start solving it, we say, what numbers have a distance of 2? I can set my 2x plus 8 equal to those numbers. So what numbers can I set 2x plus 8 equal to?
2 and negative 2.
2 and negative 2. Okay? Now you go ahead and solve this because you know how. You already have this. Your seatbelt. Okay, so you're solving it on your own, and then if you want to look up when you're done to verify that you and I agree, or you need to challenge me on something, because sometimes I make mistakes. Talking and walking and doing, and it's okay to check, it's okay to challenge me. Okay. Any disagreement? Well, let's check this out. Let's see how we did then. Step C. In step C, we write down the original. Oopsie, it had a -3 in it. So we write down the original the way it started. We write down the original the way it started. Not after we get done with step A. But what did it start out as? So we check it out We got 2 of them to check out, so we might as well just write our equation down twice. And we'll substitute in and see what we get if it checks out. Okay, let's take care of what's inside the absolute value bars first. What would we do first inside those absolute value bars now that I've substituted my -3 in? What's my first step inside those bars?
2 times negative
2 times -3, okay. So what is that? -6, and then we have that +8. So we're only going to do one thing at a time here. It's going to be, you know, a process, but we'll work through the process and make sure that it truly is the answer, -3. Okay. So what is -6 + 8 now? +2 or -2? +2, right? So this one's closer to 0 than, or 8 is closer to 0 than -6 is, and it's positive, so it's got to be a +2. And then just bring everything else along. What do we do next here? No, we're not solving, remember? But if we were solving, that's what we would do. You're right, Preston.
You would divide 2 by -3.
Okay, but what do we have to do with this absolute value? This is the point we can finally get rid of those absolute value bars in our checking. What is the absolute value of 2? 2. So we were finally at the point, okay, and now we say, what is 2 take away 3? -1. Bring down our equal sign, bring down our -1 on the other side. Say, you know what, that's true, isn't it? So it checks out. Okay, now you go ahead and try the other one on your own. Check it out. It should take that many steps to do your check problem. Seth, are you already done the check problem? Oh, okay. I was going to want to do it up here if you were.
I'm sorry. Oh, this is just my name.
So basically, it gets to the point that really the last 2 lines end up looking exactly the same, which make sure it really legitimately does. So you're going to be leaving these notes out because, of course, you're going to use them to help you with your homework. And I'm going to be checking over to make sure Mrs. Preston has the wire off, but we're going to make sure that you really have done what you need to do so that you do it properly in your homework also. Okay? Anybody have any questions or anything that's not clear? Any part you want to talk about? So you're going to have to look at the problems, and you're going to have to, in step A, when you write step A, do you write the absolute value equation in that step? You have to decide, is there anything else I need to do, or is it already alone? Step B should never have what in it? Absolute value bars. And step C, what should happen if it doesn't check out? What are we checking for? We're checking to see if we have what? Right answers. And if it doesn't check out, what should that lead us to believe? That was wrong, and we don't have the right answer. That's right. So again, that's why you don't end up with 15, 20 problems to do. I want you to make sure that you're learning how to do these right away from the beginning. Okay, let's get started on homework then.